Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the English Shooting live stream. Thank you very much for joining this evening. I hope you've all had a great couple of weeks. For anybody that is new, thank you for joining and dropping in. This is a chance to discuss and chat about all the past week's shooting news and topics, and also get involved, to have your opinions heard, to raise any questions that you may have, or raise any topics that you think that we should be discussing. And in terms of discussing topics, it is there's a strange number of you, or alarming quantity of you, that seems to be watching me from the bathtub. Um, Whatever floats your boat, I guess. Where however you're watching, wherever you're watching, again, thank you for joining. And of course, most importantly, don't forget to hit that like button. It really does help us grow the channel, grow the stream, get more people engaging and seeing what we are all about. And I'm gonna have to take my temperature, because there doesn't seem to be any bad news this week, and actually quite the reverse. Some very, very good news, mostly centering around the LBP godfather, as I like to call him, Mr. Alan Westlake. Now, I can't talk about Westlake without referring back and giving a little bit of context. Of course, certainly for anybody outside of the UK, you may not know what the hell we're talking about, who we're talking about, and why he's so important to firearms ownership here in the UK, and the range of firearms that we have the ability to own directly because of him. And I think there's even quite a lot of people within the UK that have never heard of Alan Westlake and Westlake Engineering. So I'll try and not bore the people that know the story inside and out, but just a very quick bit of backstory. Of course, in 1997, small arms handguns were banned from private ownership for sporting and hunting purposes. And Alan Westlake, being a very accomplished pistol shooter, took great umbrage to this and decided to comb through our laws with a fine-tooth comb, and found a way of offering something very, very similar to the pistol shooting that he enjoyed, and allowed many, many others to continue pistol shooting in some form or another, which gave birth to the long-barreled pistol. A short arm here within the UK is anything that has a barrel less than 12 inches, or an overall length of less than 24 inches. So that's why predominantly we can only own long guns, so shotguns, rifles. But he had the brilliant idea of, well, what happens if you extend the barrel of a conventional pistol to 12 inches, and put a rod, or a coat hanger, as we like to call it over here, out the back, making the overall length 24 inches. So it was Mr. Alan Westlake that gave us the long-barreled pistol, an abomination called by some, but I think quite an genius, innovative way to offer some sort of handgun pistol shooting here in the UK. And long barrel pistol shooting is growing in popularity, be that within practical and just traditional target sports. And it really is down to him. What he's also very well known for are his muzzle loading revolvers, and I've done a video on this previously. You can go and check this out on the channel. I think if you just type into YouTube Westlake muzzle loading revolver, you'll be able to pick this up. So why is the muzzle loading so important? Well, the only sort of exception to being able to own a gun that is smaller, or has a barrel shorter than 12 inches, or an overall length less than 24 inches, is if it is a muzzle loading pistol. And there's no caveat on how new or old the gun needs to be, as long as it is muzzle loading. So again, a very ingenious idea was to take a modern revolver frame and barrel that had never been assembled into a fully functioning gun. Therefore, it's considered component parts, and it's not effectively sectioned in terms of Section 5 being a prohibited firearm, and making it in its first real existence of a firearm as a muzzle loader. So you actually load the cylinder that you can see there in the center, which detaches completely from the gun. You have presses and your powder charges, and you're able to manually muzzle load the cylinder, put it back into the frame, and shoot it like any other revolver. And it is, for all intents and purposes, well, it is a modern gun. Um, yeah, it's not 100%. It's not going to fool you into thinking that it is a traditional, say, 357 revolver, but it is the closest thing that we are able to own here. There's a few clips of Alan Westlake at a previous shooting show, the man, the myth, the legend. This video goes through the entire history, but I'll just skip forwards to the actual firing of the revolver. So basically shooting it, seeing it from afar, it's as close to a revolver as we can own. But this being England, you can't find ways or maybe cracks that the Home Office, police, and government, border force, NCA, whatever government agency is likely to get their backs up about things like this. You can't get round them. It's not about what the law is, it's what they like or dislike. And to say that the Home Office, to say that the police, firearms licensing, and all of the various policing agencies here within the UK dislike the long barrel pistol or the muzzle loading modern revolvers would be an understatement. They absolutely detest it, to the point that we have seen this unofficial term of a long-barreled pistol or a long-barreled revolver. It doesn't exist within our definition of what guns are. It is a made-up term by the police, by the Home Office, and they actually like to impose what some deem as unlawful restrictions because they really, really don't like them, and they're a little too close to the handguns that they banned in 1997. So Alan Westlake of Westlake Engineering, which is his company that designs and produces all of these, has had a long and interesting battle with pretty much every law enforcement department, every government department that is likely to get involved with firearms since the very conception. And he documents this brilliantly on his website. So if you go to westlakeengineering.com, you can see not only the current guns that he has for sale, but if you go into their history, you can learn a little bit more about how he got started, the first sort of guns, the first long barrel pistol. It was actually the muzzle loaders that came first before the long barrel pistol, but I really think the long barrel pistol is more significant. Let me bring that up so you can actually see it. Is more significant to changing the face of UK firearms ownership. And he has these quite detailed and very interesting exchanges from his own personal accounts to actual emails he sent to and has received from the Home Office and firearms licensing department. So you can see he's been fighting since before 2000, well, up on here 2004, but I believe it goes even further beyond that. But he documents it really well. I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of this, because what we talk about and where the good news comes is from the most recent battle that Alan Westlake has had alongside another upstanding well-known shooting company, the Merseyside Armoury. So Merseyside Armoury are the UK importers for Alfa, the Alfa revolvers, and these muzzle loaders are built on the Alfa frame and Alfa barrel. So Westlake imports these guns through Merseyside Armoury. That's where they come into this. And this actually all started off, I think I covered it in another live stream, but this all started, referring to his website, back in really November. I know it says, you know, you might think he's a time traveler with the sort of stuff he comes up with. I can wholly believe that. But that's, yeah, so that, well, that I would say that was November 2021. Yeah, so a little bit of a there. The real problems started back in March 2022. So we are getting on now for nearly 2 years ago. Well, he went to import a new batch of these frames and barrels, and they were seized by Border Force at Manchester Airport. They very quickly decided that they were, despite Border Force not really being resident experts on firearms or firearms law here within the UK, they believed that they were Section 5 prohibited firearms. Now, in their defense, very, very slightly and very, very quickly, I'll try and give them as much credit as I possibly can do, and this is probably the only credit that I can give them, is that yes, if you are a border agent that doesn't know anything about guns, that isn't really up to scratch with the shoot within the UK, if you saw something, vaguely, of course, it wouldn't have the cylinder because he doesn't buy the cylinder and other bits of the gun, but you know, you strip all the other component parts and you just see that frame and that barrel, you could be forgiven for thinking that that was a Section 5 firearm. And the whole point of it being component parts, just for clarity, is that once a gun has been built and basically produced to a Section 5 level, a prohibited firearm, it will always be a Section 5 firearm. So you can't go and take a pistol, add a long barrel to it and a long rod, and then call it a Section 1 firearm that you can own under a firearm certificate. It has to, from the factory, come out in its Section 1 form, or as Alan Westlake is doing, he is buying components that may ordinarily go on to be assembled to be a Section 5 gun, but have never been so. Therefore, they are component parts. Therefore, the section hasn't been necessarily applied just yet. So he gets them before they're anywhere near Section 5 and make sure that they are produced in the first instance as Section 1. So yes, I can understand them wanting to maybe double check things. But why are we talking about this now when this happened back in March 2022? Surely it's a pretty simple explanation. You might even, a very sort of far stretch, have to maybe get a solicitor in to really explain to them the points of law, why this is all lawful. And furthermore, you have a lawful Section 5 dealer, Merseyside Armoury, with a long-standing RFD, Alan Westlake, legitimately importing guns through the correct channels. The chances of them trying to pull a fast one while legitimately importing these guns, fully declaring them, yeah, that's just absolutely ridiculous. These are people with you know, built up family businesses that they need to you know, continue running, right? It isn't some backyard sort of shady operation here. They're well established within the firearms authority, this, that, and the other. Why are people like that going to try and start importing illegal firearms legitimately through Border Force? It's just absolutely astounding that they would even think that they would even contemplate that they would be doing that. So you would think it would be easy to you know, sort out, but it wasn't. Requesting a number of experts, and as Alan Westlake puts himself, I cannot understand what the delay is unless they are trawling through all the Home Office experts to find one that agrees with Officer Lewis and gives them the result the Home Office wants. This is where the real significance of this and the real impact. You might just think, oh, so some people aren't going to get their guns. Well, this is a business that actually has a very limited product line, right? In all fairness to Westlake Engineering, they have the Alfa Muzzle Loading Revolvers, have the sport version, and he sells a number of accessories. He is also developing a number of new guns, right? So this is, it's a smaller operation. It's a family run business. You've got Alan, the father, and his daughter Rachel, running the business. And this is what they rely on to, keep the lights on, put food on the table. So seizing what are the most fundamental components to the main and pretty much only product that Westlake Engineering makes, is in no short, no exaggeration, a near death sentence to the business, and to the livelihood of the Westlakes. And he says exactly this: as a result of the seizure, my business has had no income. I was waiting for the seized parts to complete orders for a list of waiting customers. This has meant that I cannot fund the development of the Brit Mark 22 long pistol or complete the final parts of the Brit Arms 357 muzzle loading revolvers. It then goes on even more ridiculously, that Border Force has got the National Crime Agency involved. Even saying, "Do they really think I'm supplying the underworld with firearms?" Again, this is a long-standing, law-abiding, registered firearms dealer. Someone has dug themselves into a hole and is still digging. The gun trade organization have not been able to get any answers from Border Force either. There was a little bit of a further bad news very quickly, or more quickly rectified. He had to place another order for the frames, and if I think I remember in the last stream, Alan was, I guess, in trying to keep the business afloat, was still taking deposits for these guns, basically saying, like, look, we are going to get this sorted out at some point. If you still want one, you can still give a deposit. And I think I even said on the stream that I did, go and give this man some money. Go and go and give him some money for a deposit, because it's these people that help us progress the sport. It's all well and good, of course, fighting in the courts, fighting to grow, matches and ranges and organizations and stuff like that. But we still need the equipment to go out and do this sport. And if it wasn't for the likes of Alan Westlake, in terms of any relation to handgun ownership or handgun shooting, it would be an even more desolate sort of landscape than it currently is. And the only reason we have any sort of handgun shooting here under Section 1 is directly because of him. So people like this do need our support, because these are the people brave enough, intelligent enough, and I think passionate enough to actually, push the boundaries and put a stake into the ground with with the Home Office, with the government, with firearms licensing, to say, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think and what you like and what you don't like. This is what the law is. It's what I've experienced personally so many times. It's like, well, the law is black and white here. This is the law. Yeah, but we don't really like that, so we're going to apply our own likes and dislikes. So it's people like Alan that really sort of keeps the stake in the ground of where things should be, and really does, put his business and livelihood on the line to uphold that. So yeah, he was still taking orders. There were still people, getting, interested in it. I guess, the old adage, all publicity is good publicity in a way. So placed another order for some barrel and frame assemblies, but they were also seized by, well, that's an interesting spelling of force, but very apt. I wonder. I don't somehow think that was accidental. So they were seized November 2022. They were taking Border Force to court at March. I think that was the previous bout. But then 4 months later, um, they were finally released. So, you know, and bearing in mind he hasn't had any deliveries of parts since what was the first date? March 2022, and now it's February 2023. So, you know, sort of a year, 10 months in total. Westlake Engineering had been prevented from taking delivery of the most fundamental components of his effectively his only product. That's a long time for a business to go without being able to sort of sell a product or make any product. Um, Now, whilst that little debacle was resolved within 4 months, they've still got the original barrels and ends up having to go to court, and it is a very long sort of um, explanation. Again, it's his daughter that's given a report on it, and it goes into ridiculous detail. But as you could probably all expect, the evidence that they produced was abysmal, if not just incompetent. The organization of the side of border force was chaotic best, and fortunately, um, Alan Westlake of Westlake Engineering and Merseyside Armoury were able to really eloquently portray to the judge exactly what the law is, what these are, how it all works, and put their case forward. So I'm not going to go right through the nitty gritty, but again, this is all on westlakeengineering.com if you want to go and read it sort of blow by blow. It goes through all of the failings that they did for the evidence and sort of the chain of command of the evidence. And yeah, and the long and the short of it, the positive news is that nearly 2 years on, the judge saw sense on this and ruled in their favors, and insisted that the border force released the guns. And what's been put here, the judge was kind in his description of Mr. Geary and Mr. Westlake, and said both men have worked in the firearms business for many years. Each has an excellent reputation within that industry. He accepted the evidence given by both and by Alpha Project as honest, and that all three were fully aware of the risks to Mr. Geary should he try to illegally import either a complete cartridge revolver or the component parts of a previously completed cartridge revolver. The judge describes all of the other evidence presented as circumstantial, and that in choosing between the scenario that all the features observed result from manufacturing is a simpler and more likely answer than the scenario that the weapon was tested or pre-fired for no apparent reason. So fortunately, in this case, logic prevailed, and I think we can all agree the right side has won on this. I really do hope that this is the end of the importation issues. Um, that that they've experienced. I hope that Border Force have learned a valuable lesson. And I haven't had time to read through the entire blow by blow in terms of the court case, but I really hope there is an avenue, and that both Merseyside Armoury and Alan Westlake pursue damages from Border Force, because it's not a question here of oh, no harm, no foul. Oh, you've got your bits in the end. There's 2 years where Alan Westlake, Westlake Engineering, could have been producing guns, been making stock, been selling more guns. And it would be very easy to work out what is his average yearly sale, how much revenue has he lost during those 2 year, almost 2 year periods, and you can come up with quite a quantifiable damages amount. There's also the stress factor, the personal factor in this of having to question whether your business is going to go out, you go out of business, whether you're going to be able to put food on the family, additional legal fees. So if there is an avenue, it really needs to be sent loud and clear that whether it's firearms or not, yes, you need to be sure that people are complying with the law, right? But that needs to be done in a reasonable time frame. That needs to be done in a time frame that isn't going to cause somebody significant financial difficulties. And yeah, regardless of guns or not, when you make an incorrect decision like this with quite serious consequences to somebody's livelihood, then you should be punished for getting that decision wrong. Again, it makes absolutely no sense why a registered firearms dealer and a registered firearms dealer with Section 5 authority would even think to try and smuggling guns through the legitimate importation process. It just I guess maybe hiding in plain sight, and it's more of a confidence con because who actually would be that stupid to do it? So perhaps it's the perfect way to try and get illicit firearms. But you're talking about a guy here, Alan Westlake, that can make guns from scratch, and you're talking about a Section 5 dealer that already has these guns. Westlake has the ability to make something that wouldn't be lawful. And Merseyside have stuff that is Section 5 that could, if they so choose, put into the wrong hands. But here's a kicker for you. Neither do, because they're law-abiding, upstanding members of this shooting community. So somebody, I'm sorry, somebody needs to be sacked from Border Force for this. There is absolutely no justification to keep somebody that long from being able to put food on the table and make their livelihood. So yes, that's fortunately, again, you say it's very easy to say all's well that ends well. Again, there's been 2 years of difficulties that I'm sure Alan Westlake isn't looking at that, looking at it like that, and I really think he does need to be remunerated for that. And it has rekindled. I've said it before. I'm such a fan of what he does and what he has done. That shortly after the last issues, I couldn't help having a little stroll through Gun Trader and some for sale ads, and we ended up picking up an Alan Westlake for the unit. So it was one of his earlier guns, the Armscore muzzle loading revolver. And I just think it really is just a bit of history. So yeah, this was the gun for the thumbnail, but this is the exact one that we've got in the armory at Magload. So if you are interested in actually seeing one of these guns in person, you can head down to Magload. We're based down in Havant by Portsmouth. Be happy to grab this out of the armory for you and show you. It's for me, it's a bit of history, and it's sort of a mark of respect to what Alan Westlake is doing. And all of this, now that he's got his components again and really shouldn't be prohibited from conducting his lawful business going forward, it is really tempting to sort of support him even more and pick up one of the Alfa 357s. I've said many times here on the channel, if handguns were made legal tomorrow, I have my list. Beretta 92 FS. Probably now I'm more of, in terms of competition shooting, I have been royally swayed over to CZ, so it'd probably be a Shadow 2, but I would have to get a snub nose 357 revolver. That's been, even before I got into shooting, the 357 revolver snub nose was always just a gun that I looked up. I was like, it just looks cool, right? It just, like, the mechanics of it, the compactness of it, but still with that 357 round in it, and to go for a 2-inch Alfa 357 from Alan Westlake would be absolutely perfect. And of course, I did apply for a slot one of these on my current application for an FAC, and that is very much what I would look to fill it in. So it sort of reminded me now that he's back in stock, I may have to get in touch and get a deposit in and get one on order. Obviously, again, I need to say it, if you want to support what Alan is doing, and you've got an open slot for a muzzle loading revolver, then please do consider it. If you want a hand in specking one, picking one out, or even having it delivered, maybe you can't make it down to Westlake Engineering or whatever, we can take RFD transfers at Magload. We'd even be more than happy to help you order it as well. So we can help you out whichever way, but I would recommend going directly with the guy, just with the man himself, just so you get to deal with him. I've had a little bit of correspondence back and forth in the past, and it's always enjoyable. He really doesn't bite his tongue, says what he thinks, and usually what he thinks is pretty interested and switched on. So that's it. It is overall a positive story, but I hope it gets even better and he ends up taking them for everything that they've got. Let's see what you guys are saying quickly. Just a quick reminder, if you're enjoying the stream, if you like what you're seeing, then hit that like button. It really does help. We've got nearly double the amount of people that are watching that have liked. And if you're watching and you don't like, unless you're a certain Range Rover up in the owner up in the Midlands, then why are you watching at all? My bourbon of choice this evening, yes, I'm still drinking it out of a stemless wine glass because I couldn't be asked to go out and get a proper what is it? Oh, I can't remember what they're called. The proper whiskey glasses, but it still all taste the same. Mitch's number one bourbon tonight. It's actually so far my favorite, and it's sort of my treat bourbon. I don't know why I'm having my treat bourbon tonight, but every now and then you've got to treat yourself, haven't you? I did see, I think it was Frank, the comments disappeared because I think you did it before we went live. Yes, there are olive drab caps available. You can technically order them because I still have one because I haven't actually brought it home yet. I know he's sat in his bathtub with a drink with his OD cap on. Apologies, I keep on forgetting to bring it home. Of course, I actually stream from home at my home office rather than at the unit at work, as I call it, if you can call it work. So I just keep forgetting to chuck it in the car and bring it home. Tom Thumb was chatting with Alan Westlake a few months back about the case. I'm delighted he has won. Absolutely, it really couldn't have gone. Well, it could have gone a lot better. Border Force just could have decided not to stick their nose in, and the NCA and the Home Office could sort of suck it up, and the law is the law. It doesn't matter what you like or dislike. Short arms, not small arms, were banned. Yes, sorry, that was definitely my dyslexia kicking in there. That's exactly what I meant. Sad T-Rex noises. Tom Thurn Allen also designed handguns and was manufacturing the Brit Mark pistol, so he was also commercially fucked over by the ban. The fact he's still not been beaten by the Home Office is a testament to him. Yeah, and that's what I mean. Prior to 2004, his whole business was centered around handguns, which of course effectively just ended overnight in 1997. Yeah, I think Border Force, NCA, Home Office maybe should just let him get on with things now. Is this what it's going to be like for me? I'm gonna get into my old age, and I'm still gonna be picking and winning fights with firearms licensing. I think they do need to learn there's just some people it's just not worth it. Like, we're not actually going to break the law, and it's probably a lot easier for all of us if you just let us carry on with what we're doing. Black guinea pig, not much shooting would be going on in the UK if we banned small arms. Yes. Again, you've made your point. I said small when I meant short. Uh, Franco Grady, yes, again, I hope you're enjoying your OD cap, and a very good point. Don't forget to like the stream. The dirty, the Home Office seem to be a law unto themselves. If that's not too political, Dan, Dan, we all know that you like to swing the ban hammer. Like, some people have a legitimate political point, which is I'm all for um uh, supported, logical, fair political points. I can't read reasonable political points. What is reasonable? I don't know. Um, you can people can make political points. It just has to be sensible. I know my definition of sensible sometimes is not the best marker, but still haven't been to prison. There's always time. Tom Thumb, lots of definitions don't exist in UK firearms law. The issue with LBR, LBP is that they are handguns, and in '97 they stripped out all the provisions for handguns. Thought they bunked them all. I mean, yeah, what is the definition of a handgun? The thing is, the Home Office have formally, they have given their formal definition of an LBP, which is a gun that is intended not to be shot from the shoulder, which technically, by that definition, it makes any muzzle loading revolvers under Section 1 an LBP, because they're not designed to be shot from the shoulder. But that gives you an inclination. It gets very close to the likes of the arm brace discussions that we have out in the US, and SBR laws and things like that. But yeah, we all know roughly what an LBP is. It's just that it's hilarious that the government and Home Office can't actually stand up in law and show them the legal definition. So it's this very interesting artifact within our law that, and I learned a lot more about this recently due to the work that of somebody that watched this channel, but I won't go too much into detail because there's a lot going on, and I do struggle sometimes to remember what I can talk about and what I can't talk about. It just gets more confusing as I get older. But anyway, the whole thing within our club exemptions about non-FAC holders being able to share club guns under the club exemptions when not having their own FACs, the little bit in law that says about the sharing of rifles and muzzle loading pistols was actually specifically put in place to not allow the sharing of handguns. So what ended up happening after the ban, and initially after the ban in 1997, I think I'm right in that was the main ban of handguns, but 2.2 pistols was still 2.2 rimfire pistols were still lawful under Section 1, but the government really didn't like that they were still lawful, and certainly didn't want to encourage more people to get into handgun shooting and handgun ownership. So they put in this little caveat in within the law to nail it down so that you could only share rifles and muzzle loading pistols at the club, and purposely excluded handguns when at the time the only real handguns available were the 2.2 pistols. And the resulting artifact of that in terms of modern day firearms ownership is that we now have this unofficial definition of a long barrel pistol. And if you say a long barrel pistol is a long barrel pistol, then it's not a rifle or muzzle loading pistol, so therefore it cannot be shared. And then also we have Section 1 shotguns, which are unrestricted capacity shotguns, which is also not a rifle. I know some countries and some people will call them a rifle, but the definition of rifle in the UK is anything with a rifled barrel, and a shotgun is a small smoothbore barrel, so it's not a rifle and it's also not a muzzle loading. So both Section 1 and Section 1 shotguns and LBPs and LBRs cannot be shared within a club, right? But the really interesting thing is that, yes, for Section 1 shotguns, they are not a rifle, they are not a muzzle loader, so they can't be shared under the Home Office Club exemption. But a long barrel pistol, because it doesn't legally exist, the only real definition of what a long barrel, well, the only definition within law that a long barreled pistol conforms to is the definition of a rifle, right? 24 inches in length with a rifled 12-inch barrel. It's a rifle. So there have been a number of very brave people that have gone to court and said, I don't care what you call this thing, by UK law definition, it is a rifle. And just for anybody that has never seen a long barreled, I do forget sometimes that while I've talked about it a million times, there probably will be people that have never seen one or know what I'm talking about. Let me bring up I might as well just bring up the video that I did on it, right? That would make sense. And I'll get through all the talking. I do a lot of that, right? And I'll just make it big. So this is a long barrel pistol. This is a long barrel pistol, Walther PPQ, as you can see, extended long barrel to make it 12 inches overall, and the rod coming out of it. Another long barrel pistol, again, long barrel. You can just about see the rod under my hands there, and somewhere there will be that is the Firefly, GSG Firefly. That is the Antrag that we're still waiting from. Come on, Otto, help us out. And we also have the long-barreled revolvers. So again, you can't see the rod there, but it's got the 12-inch barrel. So that's the LBPs and LBRs. But the really interesting thing is that, and I'm not advocating for anybody to go and do this. It's always better to, and this is part of the problem. We are far too far too compliant in not even wanting to upset the firearms licensing department or the police or the Home Office out of fear that they will come after us with unjustified means and tactics. So yeah, you technically could, theoretically, not that I'm advising it, you could ignore exactly what the Home Office and what the police want you to do and share a long barrel pistol. When you end up in court, as people have, you point to the definition of a rifle and go, this is by UK definition a rifle. I don't care that the Home Office says an LBP is something that is designed to be shot off the shoulder. Show me in law where it says that is an opinion. It is meaningless. It's sort of it's got no basis. It's a rifle, and there have been people that have won with that, but unfortunately the precedent has never been set. So every single time that you do it, if the police want to take you to court, you will have to fund your own legal expenses to be able to fight that in the courts. And that's sort of the tactic that is used a lot of the time. They know it doesn't cost the police. It does, but it doesn't actually cost any it doesn't cost the firearms licensing department or the FEO or firearms license manager or a police officer to take somebody to court. That's paid by the taxpayer, which is actually, if you think about it, really pretty disgusting, because if you get taken to court, you've got to pay for your own legal expenses, and technically through tax, you're paying for their legal expenses as well. So you're paying for everything. And it's very, very expensive to do so. And a lot of people don't have the funds, the time, or I think the mental strength to go and have those battles. So, we have our line, and a lot of people, in terms of stepping over the line, a lot of people like to operate here. Alan he is hugging, he's kissing, he is caressing that line whilst sticking two fingers up to everybody else, which is my sort of guy. I need a picture. I need a picture of Alan just in the background, and people will be like, "What? Like, is that your granddad in the background?" And he's like, "No, he's the Godfather." That's it. T-shirts with Alan's face on from here. Happy, doesn't matter if you like the content or not. Liking the stream will cause YouTube to suggest it to more people. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just as a reminder to like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe as well. Hello, friends. How goes the monarchy? Well, me and Charles, we're like that. We are tight. He's okay. He's good. He's hanging in there. Do you have a link to Rachel's article? I'll show it. So again, if you want to read the full story about Westlake Engineering, you can go to westlakeengineering.com, or you can follow that link. And now it's taken me to the bottom of all the comments, so I've just lost a lot of them. Just holding them is not a crime because is prohibited only at some parts of Britain. However, in the case of ML Alpha, issue is Alpha selling it as component never assembled, complete Section 5 firearm. Only Section 5 component under regulation is bump stock, thus frame with barrel is legal to import. Absolutely. Happy, why didn't you tell me you had one in the armory? I've talked about it before. I've talked about it before. You're gonna have to come back in. You're gonna have to drop back in soon, and we'll crack it out. Connors was just too excited to show you the progress with the magazines. I'll wait for it. Callum needs a smoking jacket for Christmas. You do not know the temptation of when I walk up here, pour out a little measure, walk up here, and I'm just like, I could just sit here, you know, whiskey in hand or bourbon in hand with a cigar. I would be homeless very quickly, though. There's no doubt about it. Glencairnglass, that is the one. When are you going to stream from the bathtub? I mean, I was concerned about you all watching me from the bathtub. Now I'm even more concerned that you want to watch me in a bathtub. That's an ES Fans exclusive. It could be. It could be. I wonder, like, that's got legs actually, because then it could be, you know, I could do a stream from the bath, and then to up the ante, I could do a stream with Connors in the bath as well. Double trouble. Black guinea pig winning fights. Something you want to tell us? No, I just think it's pretty evident that despite, for whatever made up or fabricated reason this week, that they don't want to give me my FAC, I'm still perfectly capable and able to start a business within the firearms ownership, within the firearms industry fairly successfully, and go about the business that I want to go about fairly unhindered from firearms licensing. I haven't heard from them I literally cannot remember the last interaction that I've had with firearms licensing. They've unfortunately just decided to leave me alone without giving me my FAC first. I guess it's almost like, well, he sort of doesn't need it. I mean, it would be really appreciated, and you still really have no reason to be stalling the application any further than the 3 years that it's already been. But at this point, I don't care. I honestly, I don't care. I honestly don't. They want to keep it from me, fine. I literally don't have any more mental capacity for the exemptions that are available for me to use to continue taking part in this sport. And, you know, fortunately, I'm in a position where if I so choose to, I can go and shoot abroad pretty much whenever I want. If I wasn't so busy, I'd probably do it a lot more. So I'd call that winning. Yeah, they might have won a battle. Yeah, this is when, you know, NCA is going to blow off the doors tomorrow and come in and black bag me. But yeah, whatever. Like, I literally don't have the time and mental energy to give to the ridiculously petty, unjustified games that they want to play. I've tried it both sides. You know, I've tried being, you know, I've tried pushing the envelope in a way. That's sort of what led to a lot of the issues. And then I tried going completely the opposite way and tried to curtail and work with and be compliant and helpful and pleasant to them, and that you just seem to annoy them even more. So literally, whatever I do, they don't seem to care. Whatever I seem to do, it doesn't make any effect. And actually, when I try to be as good as possible, they come after me with you know um, just fucking jumped up charges of firearms offences, which I don't know how much I've actually talked about this on the stream, um, but I'm pretty sure I've told you guys they formally investigated me for 18 months for firearm offences. Right, this is the sort of things that they do. Right, if I haven't talked about it that much, like, again, I just really don't care. They formally investigated me. I had to do a written interview under caution. This was right at the beginning of COVID, which is why I did a written interview, because I was not going anywhere near a police station at that point. And I thought I'd be relatively compliant. And then they decided to call me in for a face-to-face interview anyway, and ask me the exact same questions that I'd asked answered under the written. This was like 3 years ago. It's actually what was holding up me putting in my application, because obviously they wouldn't let me submit an application while there was a sort of ongoing. Oh no, that was COVID. That was COVID. COVID happened. I couldn't put in my application. They then reopened. I put in my application, and then they decided to investigate me for firearms offences. And the really hilarious thing is, it's really all their creation, right? Because it was 3 points 3 points that they were investigating me for. There was um, uh, use of a prohibited weapon without authority, or whatever the actual official name is, and that was purely me shooting um, a Mars rifle. This was after, so I think this was after the Offensive Weapons Act had received royal assent, but the guns were still in possession under Section 1 certificates. And they said that any use of it was now considered a Section 5 gun. It was Section 5 effectively to manufacture, transfer, produce, or sell one of the guns. It wasn't a Section 5 offence to use them, because they were still being held under a Section 1 certificate. And the Home Office actually clarified this. There's this beautiful screenshot from the Home Office website that says, no, you can still use them, right? You can't transfer it, you can't sell it, you can't manufacture these guns anymore, but you can still use them. Sent this to them while they're investigating me for this exact offense, and they were like, no, we interpret it differently. How on earth can you interpret that differently? There was also another gun that I was using under the Home Office approved club exemption. Home Office approved club exemption, as we talked earlier in the stream, allows any member of a Home Office approved club to take possession of a firearm for the purposes of that club being target shooting, right? That's literally all it says. It doesn't matter what range it's on, where it is. Um, as long as you're doing it under the auspices of the club, it's perfectly lawful. There was one instance where I had done that. I'd shown it on a stream, right? A 2 or 3 hour stream. This is the amount of effort that they like to go into to try and find little slip ups that I supposedly make. And yeah, they had this little clip, and they were like, we think you're using this gun unlawfully. And I'm like, oh, here we go again. And that was it. It was the use of Section 1 shotguns within competition, which Hampshire seems to think is unlawful. It doesn't, they seem to think that it's, it then becomes personal use. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. When you co-own and co-run a company that designs equipment specifically for competitive use, and you need to test, demonstrate, and produce marketing material within a competitive environment, I would very much say that is part of your work. They didn't agree. Of course they wouldn't. But they, I'm not in prison. So that case was dropped. So that was a win. That's another win. There we go. And then after that, okay, that official case was dropped. Um, Hampshire Firearms. So that was Hampshire Police. And then Hampshire Firearms decided that they needed to look into the legality of all of the things that I had been um, of I'd been formally investigated for. So it's like, hang on a minute, right? Your own police force, and bearing in mind, firearms firearms licensing is not. They are not police officers, right? They are a police staff. They are civilians. So their own police officers had formally investigated the case. Didn't even make it to the CPS. That's literally how. Irrelevant their points were, they would have just been laughed at. But their own police officers investigated it, didn't have any basis to proceed, and now apparently firearms licensing have better investigative techniques than their own police officers and own, their own what do they call it, inspectors or whatever. And yeah, now they're deciding whether what I did was lawful or not, despite the police already having done this. So this is what I mean. They will operate in really shitty, shady areas of the law if they really don't like me. And this is why, again, I have so much respect for what Alan Westlake does and how he continuously stands up to them, because this is the sort of stuff that they pull. This is the sort of stuff that they will do. I have no legal mechanism to force them to either reject or approve my certificate. Right? Fine. All right. Don't give me a certificate, but I'll continue having the RFD. Thank you very much. Although that is up for renewal, so I'm sure that's going to be very, very interesting. But then, like in seriousness, Connors and I have seriously discovered we actually had a very interesting conversation with Saul from Double Alpha. So Magload is stocked by Double Alpha. Double Alpha are the largest distributor and producer of practical shooting equipment within the IPSC market. So it was quite big for us to get to get our products on his site, to get distributing. So if you are watching out from outside of the UK and you don't want to have to deal with customs and purchasing Magload stuff, you can buy it through Double Alpha. He's got distribution in Europe, distribution in America. But anyway, we're talking to Saul, and we're talking about the development of stuff with guns, and we say something like, oh, what's the the laws like in the Netherlands, because Double Alpha is based in the Netherlands. What's the firearms licensing law out in the Netherlands? You must have a lot of different pistols for all the different holsters that you develop. And he goes, we don't have any licensing. He doesn't have any licenses. He doesn't. The business does not have any firearms on the premises. And we're like, what? And what it does is the firearms manufacturer, because Double Alpha are so big, they want Double Alpha to release accessories for their for their for their products, right? For their guns. So they actually send them effectively like 80% frames of their guns. So Double Alpha have all of the actual dimensions that they need. They're not worried about the internals of the gun. If you're making a holster or a mag pouch, and again, magazines aren't restricted out there, so that's not an issue. So he gets sent these inert blocks of metal, which he's able to take all the measurements off. So we even have that as a plan. If firearms licensing really detest us so much that they want to take away the RFD for absolutely no reason, then we will just find a way to continue doing what we are doing. We will just have to justify more tax write-offs to go out in Europe and America to be able to develop the products that we do require to have the guns. So again, I'm sure you could look at it either way. Is firearms licensing winning in my case, or am I winning? I don't know, successfully running a business in a firearms industry when they won't give me a firearm certificate, I would say that's pretty impressive and a pretty big win overall. Probably why they really don't like what I do. And again, it's their own doing. If they are just not decided that it's it's about what they like and what and not what the law actually is. Um, I wouldn't have needed to learn so much about firearms law, about all of the exemptions, to the point where I've previously had the head of Hampshire Firearms sit down and tell me that I know far more about firearms law than he does. Right? To me, that's terrifying as as a starter point, but that's literally what has happened. Right? I've had to and this is why I take great exception, and find it take exception, but also find it quite funny when people seem to think that what I'm doing is unlawful or I'm throwing caution to the wind. My livelihood depends on being in this industry. Yes, why we would find a way without an RFD. It would be a lot more difficult, and I'd rather not go through the headache. It would only be if necessary. um but you know it's yeah, it's I've forgotten where I was going with that. Just gone completely blank. Um, yeah, they want to operate in these grey areas. They want to, imply what they think and what rather than what is true. I just have to be. Oh, that's it. People think that I'm out there breaking the law, skirting the law. No, I have to be absolutely 110% sure that what we are doing is 100% lawful at all times, right? And this is what I say to people when they are prepared to sit down and watch. Hello, by the way. Um, when they are prepared to sit down and watch 2.5 hour streams to try and find something that I might have done wrong. I know that everything that is put out, every picture, every video, every clip, whatever, is going to be scrutinized in one way and another. I'm not stupid enough to put anything out that I am not 100% sure is lawful, to the point where we have spent a significant amount of money over the years consulting with people like Adrian Whiting, with Laura Salisbury, to make sure that what we are doing is 100%. This it's not we think, right? It's not We wouldn't be operating like this if it was a case of we think. And again, that's what they are, I think, so annoyed about, because not only do I then make use of all the exemptions that I don't think they had any clue existed, but I also like to share it with everybody else. So they're just sat in an office going, "No, no, we've now got all of these people out there using these exemptions." Well, you get what you deserve, don't you? Um, anyway, um, where were we? Yeah, winning. I'll take it as a win. Tom Thumb, Callum, the Firearms Act doesn't actually define rifles or pistols. It only sets a threshold for minimum length of all rifled firearms. A handgun is still a rifled firearm. Uh, a rifle, in the definition of the law, is anything with a rifle barrel. That's certainly my understanding of it. Rick B had a chat with some firearms suitability officers last week, and they feel like they're banging their heads on a brick wall and no one above them listens or cares. I think that's it's probably due to the fact that it's been well theorized and accepted that there's this agenda to push for less certificates out there, less firearms owners. So you do have, I spend a lot of time slagging off firearms licensing, and actually there are a lot of really solid people. My own FEO now is a super solid guy. Like, I literally couldn't wish for a better FEO, right? he knows his stuff. Ex-armed police, FAC holder himself, been shooting for a number of years, professionally and as a civilian. He understands, right? He knows the law. He understands the sport. He understands the community, and he's as fair can be. I can actually have a proper adult conversation with him, and we don't have to agree, right? We and he said that we don't have to agree, but if I'm wrong and he's right, that's not good. If if he's wrong and I'm right, well, it's there's no foul. So he's like, yeah, again, really sort of guy. There are some really good people there, but their hands are tied, right? Their hands, they have their objectives, they have their orders from their superior or superiors, however high up that may go, and they want to do. There's a lot of FEOs out there that want to do the job that an FEO should be doing, and they're not allowed to. And it's a crying shame. Like the issue, I don't think I've ever sat and blamed FEOs. There's a few knobends that I've met that are FEOs that either don't know their ass from their elbow or have personal vendettas against people and have a serious, I was bullied at school syndrome. But you get that. You get that in any industry. Most FEOs are pretty solid people. They just end up having their hands tied behind their back, and they're forced to do things that they wouldn't like to do. No bathtub. He would spend 2 hours talking about soap. now I have a fascination with soap. Great. Callum, what do you keep in your gun cabinet? My guess is bourbon, cigars, your watches, and knives. No, I do actually have guns in there. Do you know what? My keys are so securely safe, I've forgotten where they are. Genuinely forgotten where I put my keys. That's probably an indication of how much or how little I go into my safe. The gun safe by me does have guns in it. They have, well, it depends on your definition of a gun. It's air rifles. It's actually probably the most important gun. In terms of actual valuables, all the time I have a police monitored armory at my disposal. Yeah, that's I wouldn't keep stuff like that at home. But in that safe is perhaps the most important gun. Actually, I think I know where the keys are. Give me 2 seconds. I will. 2 secs. I'm gonna disable camera. Don't worry, I'm still here. There we go. You can still hear me. I'm just going to have a rummage. I've genuinely forgotten. Oh, I think. No, I can't get to them. No, that's stop sharing. There we go. We're back. And now we're full screen as well. How good is that? No, I can't get to them while I'm on stream. It's not. I don't know why I'm so like they're air guns. I'm not required to hide the keys or anything. There's no ammunition or firearms in there. But in there is the most important gun to me by far. I've done a video on it previously, and it's my granddad's BSA Mercury 22 Springer. It's the first gun I ever shot. It's the gun that got me into shooting. And my grand it's where I get the cigars and whiskey from, and the guns. My granddad's was a heavy smoker, to put it lightly, and the gun still smells like, to me, when you go into like an old pub that they used to smoke in, a lot of people find that sort of smell quite rancid. I don't, right? I absolutely love that sort of stale old smoke smell. And when it gets really hot during summer, the safe heats up, and this room actually slightly permeates that smell, which again I love. My wife not so much, but I will not clean the gun because I certainly won't clean the stock. I probably should actually service the guns at some point, but yeah, that's what's in that safe. You know, I don't keep it at work. I don't need to. That it's a gun that is, yeah, incredibly sentimental. But yeah, in terms of cigars and bourbon, now that's downstairs. Want that easily in reach. Do smoking jackets come in kid sizes? Well, you know, whoever you keep in company, Daniel, is up to you. But you know, all of my friends require man sizes. Wait, is there a danger of Magload losing its RFD? Not that I'm aware of. um, there's only a danger. There's a danger of anybody losing their FAC, RFD, or SGC at any single point in time. Because of the way that some firearms licensing departments like to conduct themselves and pick and choose what guidance and laws they want to follow. What I was saying in terms of regards of the RFD is that the RFD is up for renewal, but we are a legitimate business within the firearms trade. We have been following everything to a T. There are no concerns that we have been made aware of. We work with the firearms licensing department when and as required to do so, and we are still a growing business that requires an RFD for our trade. So I can't foresee any reason that they wouldn't renew. But at this point, nothing surprises me, and this is part of the reason that I honestly just don't care anymore, because it burns up an incredible amount of time worrying or trying to foresee what might happen to try and fix what they're doing, and a lot of the time you just can't. They can literally operate however they want to. There's no way to force them to do anything. There's no accountability. There's no, you can't force them to do anything, and they can't be held to account. So the only thing with the RFD, the one thing that actually makes it a lot harder to take away an RFD, is that because you are interrupting somebody's business, because you would be affecting somebody's business from that, there are added protections for an RFD, and if that's the only point in law that you actually have that you have the ability to sue them and to hold them account, is that if they unjustifiably interrupt your business, because then they are, for the majority of FAC holders, yes, I know there's pest controllers and things like that, but for the majority of FAC holders, you have them, and I guess gamekeepers and farmers with SGCs. Actually, there's quite a lot of people that require firearm and shotgun certificates for work, but the way that the Home Office sees it, the way that the police usually see it, is that an FAC or an SGC is recreational, it's for sport, it's for hobby. I know there's many exemptions, many exceptions to that, but that's how they see it, right? So there's no protection, right? Because if you lose your hobby, it's like, well, your hobby isn't what's putting food on the plate, or food on the table and keeping the lights on, right? Your hobby is your enjoyment. Go and find another hobby. Tough tits, right? When it's an RFD, when you have an RFD, it's for business. So by removing an RFD, you are disrupting somebody's business, and it is taken a lot more seriously. So I think they would be very unwise to unjustifiably mess with the RFD. But I don't know at this point, and I don't care. When we end up sitting down and having the meeting with them for the renewal, it's, I don't know. It may go smoothly. They may throw curveballs. They love to do that. In my experience, what firearms licensing love to do is watch you do a load of stuff that they don't like, especially when you're making like regular videos and doing a lot of stuff that they don't seem to like, and they just bank it, right? They don't send you an email. They don't, unless you do something that they really, really don't like, then they might come and speak to you. But what they tend to do is collate all these things that they don't like and they find concerning and would hurt future applications and all of that. And they don't do anything with it. They just gather it and gather it and gather it. And then when you go for a renewal, a reapplication or whatever, then they dump it all on you and go, for the last 2 years, you've done this, and this, and we find all of this very concerning, and it's not really helping your case and all of that. And you're like, well, if it was really that serious and you had any concerns at all, why didn't you come and speak to me? Right? If I was doing something that you didn't like or you didn't feel was appropriate, even though it's completely within the law, so whatever, communicate, speak to us, right? So again, that's why they love to do curveballs. Again, if they had any genuine concern, they should be looking to speak to us and remove the RFD immediately. I would hope that if they have any genuine, valid concerns of an RFD, they would take action, right? Not wait until the renewal and then go, oh. But so no, there's no reason for the RFD to be at risk, but there's also no reason that I shouldn't have an FAC. So there we go. It is what it is. It's correct. There's no definition of rifle or pistol. The Home Office seem to go by the definition that a rifle is something that that's to be shouldered. Yes. Well, what I've seen is that the LBP, as we were talking about earlier, an LBP is something that is tended not to be shouldered. A rifle has a rifle barrel. Like, let's have a look. We're talking speculatively here. Let's actually bring up the legislation. Firearms Act. Find rifle. So I'll get to it in a minute. I will find it. Let me bring up share screen, Firearms Act. So first of all, they the first thing is authorized lending and possession of firearms hunting. Right, that's sort of superfluous to this, but borrow a rifle. Right, because they use the term rifle, there has to be a lawful definition of what of the rifle is. Right. I mean, I wouldn't surprise. I'm pretty sure they define it somewhere. Definition: rifle borrow, where rifle borrow, rifle club, miniature rifles. That is. I thought they would have defined it sooner. Rifle includes carbine. Ooh, so what is this? What are we in here? What is this? Textual amendments. Rifle includes carbine. Shotgun has the meaning assigned to it. Section 2A and the section definitely firearms dealer. Shotgun slaughtering instrument. And we are back to the top. Let's try rifled. So that is weapons subject to general. 1 minute. Maybe I am well, they have rifle. The rifle barrel is always the definition that I've gone by. Requirement of firearm certificate. Quite a firearms, which the section relates. Infants to comply with such. Section applies for every. The section applies to every firearm except a shotgun, meaning smoothbore gun. So barrel length. Yeah, okay. Maybe there is actually no formal definition of what they mean by rifle, which means it's open to interpretation, which as they refer to as rifled barrels and carbine, there's certainly no definition of LBP in the law. Maybe I need to look at the guidance. Give me two secs on that. Let me bring up the. Maybe it's in the guidance that they. Firearms licensing law. Guidance on firearms law. Let me bring this back up. See, this is the This is what adds to a lot of confusion when trying to navigate firearms law here in the UK. Is you might have read something in the guidance and therefore think it's law, and vice versa. A lot of people read stuff in the law and think it's guidance, which is very dangerous. Very dangerous. Yeah, confusion. Rifle guns. And this is also part of the reason that we have guidance. So as we've just gone through, it might be there. I might have missed it, but in the law, it doesn't give a specific definition of rifle, and that's probably why we will find it in the guidance. So they've probably found out that there's nothing in law, and it is incredibly difficult to change something in law. So what they've done is put their interpretation, and therefore we have the guidance. Provide a weapon which. I will find it. Any rifle ammo, yeah. I'm trying to search through. Strategy using energy of propelling gas for a rifle. There's change. Oh God, I've stumbled upon it. Applies to such. These rifles are considered more dangerous than other firearms because they can discharge rounds at much faster rates than conventional bolt-action rifles. Yeah, what a load of bollocks. Self-loading rifles. They're into miniature rifle ranges, which is, of course, all just changed. I'm going to go rifled because it's, from what I remember, cut off a rifle barrel. No. Okay. Fair dues. There is no mention of a rifle is a gun with a rifle barrel. Not that I can find here now. I could have sworn I've seen that many times before. I may have to drop an email to a couple of people and see if it comes if they're able to direct me into the into the right direction. Blackstone, spoiler, there's no definition anywhere of rifle. I formally identify as a rifle. There we go. But is that like the biggest exemption there that is just staring us in the face? You can. So, but that if there is no definition of rifle and there is no definition of an LBP, there's literally no legal. Well, we knew there wasn't any legal legal. Well, yeah, it complies to the law, doesn't it? It complies to Section 1. It's got a barrel. over a rifled barrel over 12 inches, and overall length of 24, which is sort of brings us full circle to what I was saying earlier, which is that there's nothing within the law to prosecute somebody from treating a long barreled pistol like any other rifle. And if there's no definition of rifle, it's made up term. Made up term. I identify a shotgun. Well, no, because a Section 1 shotgun would be technically a full bore rifle, which would be very Section 5. Tom Thumb hint: the Firearms Act interpretation section doesn't actually include all of the definitions. They're sprinkled everywhere throughout it and other legislation. There's no definition of a rifle. There's no definition of a pistol. Don't waste your time. They're not there. They rely on ordinary definitions, i.e. dictionary definitions. Oh, now we've got to get the dictionary involved. I'm screwed. The only official thing I've seen is a letter email from the Home Office stating their interpretation of what a rifle is, and I can send it to you if you want. Yes, please, but I'm pretty sure it's the same letter which was around LBPs. Guidance isn't law. Yes, I'm fully aware. The new statutory guidance isn't law either, but it must be followed by law. However, it doesn't provide definitions for everything. I just sent you an excerpt from a letter from the Home Office. Thank you very much. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the same. Yes. Ah, very interesting. Okay, fair dues. Shall I just... Are you happy for me to bring that up? I mean, it's not giving any... I'm obviously not going to load up Facebook and show your account, but if you are happy for me to share, I shall share. Let me just go over onto my I'm logged in as ES at the moment. I go to messages. I'll bring it back. Blackstone, if you're all right with me sharing that, let me know, and I will bring it up and read it out, because it is very interesting. And this is what I've been talking about in terms of the home, the only definition there is with LBPs and stuff like that. Black Guinea Pig: would Magload be able to print a few 5 niche optic mounts? Design exists, just need to hold up to recoil, so needs to be a decent print. We can print anything for you, but if you want us to test, develop, design, improve, modify, it's going to cost you. Or printing will cost as well. It's not free. But yeah, send me what you want printed. If it needs to be reasonably strong, then we can just put it through SLS. It will have the same material properties as an injection molded nylon. We have recently been more exploring metal 3D printing, so we could we could get that. We could do it in metal as well, potentially. It's not actually as expensive as you would think. So yeah, the best thing is send it to me via email, Callum, CALLUM, at magload.co.uk. Well, you've got Black Guinea Pig, you've got my email, just whatever one you normally use. Ping me the files. We can get you a quote, and we can go from there. But yeah, we can print anything. Designing, R&D and all of that, that's what takes a lot of time, and that's what we can't always get into. But simple print jobs, not a problem. Blackstone, go ahead. Awesome. Thank you very much. Let me share this. So, okay, right, I'll read my words. The Firearms Act contains no definition of rifle for these purposes, but we take the commonly accepted view that a rifle is a firearm held in both hands and fired from the shoulder. Consequently, items such as long-barreled revolvers, long-arm pistols, etc., may only be held by individuals on personal firearm certificates. There's a very definitive... There's no definition for these, but we take the commonly accepted view. Again, I really don't care what your view is of it. Like, the law shouldn't be about view, it should be about black and white, the commonly accepted view. The commonly accepted view at one point, oh, it was small, sorry, there we go. That's what we're talking about. Um, reading it out to you, what is this, a statement for ants? The commonly accepted view at one point was that the Earth was flat, right? You should never be applying the law by the commonly accepted view. That is quite literally the root cause of all of the messes of firearms legislation here in the UK. Consequently, items such as long-barreled revolvers, long-arm pistols may only be held by individuals on personal firearm certificates or by RFDs. Just saying, you know, they're technically not correct there, because RFDs can hold them under a firearms dealership, you know, like, but yeah, again, that's not saying they shouldn't be saying consequently items may only be held by individuals on a personal firearm certificate. It should be their opinion is. And again, I don't really care what their opinion is. What does the law say? The law says that a long barrel pistol, as it is called, conforms to Section 1, right? It's and because there is no definition of rifle, well, tough tits. It's a rifle. It's got a rifle barrel. I'll just shoot it from the shoulder. There we go. And a handgun and an LBP is held in both hands. If you want to get really technical, I mean, unless you go gangster style, you know, just single hand it, but you are holding. Anyway, we've generally considered just doing the complete reverse of America. Is it the reverse of America? Basically putting on a very, very small stock on on an LBP, on the end of an LBP. Yeah, and just go for that. That revolver in the thumbnail looks like an arms core revolver. If that is the case, it is total junk. I had one that was defective out of the box, had to send it back 4 times. They only replaced it twice because the frames were out of spare. All 3 that I examined looked like they had been assembled with an angle grinder. So just to, you know, on a different subject, yes, it is an arms core. Yes, I have heard how not good they are, but they are guns that are ultimately assembled. Let's go history, by Alan Westlake. So he's buying in the frames and the barrels, manufacturing the cylinder. Like, it's been through a pretty good set of hands. If it's the UK, if it's a UK arms core. Remember, the Home Office goes out of its way to interpret things as tightly as possible. They have had their interpretation kicked out by courts on occasion. Absolutely, absolutely, they have, and this is why it doesn't help. Yes, that letter sort of does give you some guidance of what you should or maybe shouldn't be doing, but the law is the law. And if it's so difficult to follow that the Home Office struggle to come up with a definition and a you know, actually be able to quote the line in the law. Like, this is why I think IPSC and practical shooting appeals to me so greatly, because there's a rule for everything, right? You know, it sounds weird, like, not usually ones for rules and following things as they should, because that's how you that's how you expand and grow, is by sort of thinking out of the box, as cliche as that may be. Obviously, when it comes to ending up in prison, I like to say very out of the box, if you get what I mean. But yeah, it doesn't make things any easier that you've got to skirt this just almost arbitrary interpretation. There were a few other topics that I was going to touch upon tonight. I know we've gone left, right, up, down, and all different ways. But I will just cover off a couple of extra bits that are quite important to shooting, depending on what area of shooting that you do. There is an update with the general licenses. We've actually covered this very recently with Chris Packham absolutely failing to sue Field Sports Channel TV. Well, again, we talked about how meaningless his pursuit was of trying to remove the general licenses. Well, the new general licenses that were put in place are still still going strong, and 2 years without change. DEFRA has advised Basque and other stakeholders that it is in the process of preparing new wild bird general control general licenses to replace the current versions, which are valid until 31st of December 2023. DEFRA has confirmed that it is not currently planning to make any changes and will replicate the existing conditions in the licenses, which will be valid for 2 years starting from January 2024. So yeah, it's all pretty good. We're going to talk. This was sort of interesting. This is an interesting topic. Researchers compare mental illnesses, gun violent rates in the US, Australia, and the UK. Unfortunately, it really does is what I wanted to do and go through this because this article, I wouldn't even wipe my own ass with it. It is that bad, and the whole what is it? Lies and statistics, and or damn lies more, whatever, the saying. They are just taking statistics completely out of context and just massaging everything to how the narrative that this article is trying to place. Now, without myself with half a brain going through the statistics and trying to draw a conclusion, I'm not going to say whether there is or isn't a link between the two. I know it is a topic of very hot conversation, but one of the main faux pas that they do within this is that they go, well, I'll show you the main bit. I'm not going to. So they state, results show in the US there are approximately 393 million guns owned, 1.2 guns per person. In Australia, there are 2.5, so 100 times less. In a population of 26 million, so they've got 100 times less the guns and under 10 times less the people. But what they end up coming to this conclusion is that there are more homicides with firearms. Yeah, that's it. That's what they end up doing on this article. Is they end up they don't keep things relative because it's all proportional. There's less people in Australia, there's less people in the UK, there's proportionately less guns in Australia and proportionately less guns in the UK. But what they end up doing is going, oh yeah, but gun homicides or suicide by gun is like 10 times more in the US. You're like, but there's 10 times more people or 5 times more people than the UK, and 100, like 100 times the guns. It was just complete arsehat, and I did want to go really through and break it all down, but that might be another subject for another time, and something that's a little bit fun, and it seems a bit out there, bringing it up. It's a sort of morbid curiosity in a case, but if you want to go and see Saddam Hussein's golden AK-47, it's going on display. And the only reason that I wanted to bring this up is it's going in display in the Royal Armoury in Leeds. And I've seen a lot about what the Royal Armouries have been doing over the past years. I believe it's the Royal Armouries that do the YouTube channel, and they're fascinating, and they're being interesting, and it's entertaining. They're being entertaining about it. It's not just some strokey beard historian, like, oh, this was the gun used in this war and it has this shade of wood on it, so it was this period of thing. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's all very interesting and very impressive that you're able to extract that sort of information from a gun. But this is the sort of stuff that they're doing. This is like, if you want to get the public interested in weaponry and the history of guns and stuff like that, Saddam Hussein's golden AK-47, that's going to sell a few tickets, surely, right? People are going to go, yeah, all right then, rather than, here's a 17th century spear. It's and I know I'm not knocking anybody that really likes that sort of stuff. It is amazing that we've got weaponry from back then. Where did I go recently? Oh, Arundel Castle. If you're into your old antique weaponry and arms, and I'm pretty sure there's some stuff on the wall that definitely requires a certificate, but it's in a castle, and I'm pretty sure the FEO or police aren't going to take on the castle. But anyway, they go through various chambers where there's armaments on, like, original armaments on the wall, and that was quite and some very early firearms as well. So yeah, if you want a nice day out and see a few bonus antique arms and firearms, Arundel Castle is pretty good. But also, if you want to see Saddam Hussein's golden AK-47, you can go to the Royal Armouries in Leeds. Probably a place that I should set aside a day to go and visit. Any more? The armories don't normally struggle for visitors. I did enjoy playing with the old AKs. I'm not saying they struggle with visitors, but it's about keeping people engaged with it. If they have the same old stuff on the walls, and they don't keep things fresh and bring out new sort of exciting things like, Saddam Hussein's golden AK, then it could become quite old and dreary. Neil, I might be moving to the Isle of Man. Looking forward to the prospect of being able to own normal pistols and revolvers and pay less tax. But then you also have to live in the Isle of Man, so everything has to be weighed up. Although Isle of Man, no speed limits. Is that still a thing, or is that a myth? I'm pretty sure they still. Is it one of those places that they're slowly introducing speed limits? I mean, actually, well, I take the piss about living over in the Isle of Man. It does sort of sound like my perfect place. Better firearms law, handguns, no speed limits, and less tax. The Isle of Man is basically, it's a broken off bit of America that's floated off to us, or it's a bit of the UK trying to make its way back to America. Like, come, like, you left me behind, guys. Like, I like guns and paying less taxes, and although America does really like its speed limits, and they're saying that, I think there are some roads out in the deserts that have no speed limits. So yeah, it's just a little bit of the UK trying to make its way back to the mothership. I'm like, I've got a Isle of Man speed. I've just out of interest speed limit. Unlike the UK, there is no national speed limit. Yeah. Speed limits. Oh wait, Wikipedia. Speed limits in the Isle of Man. Speed limits in the Isle of Man are measured in miles per hour. The same basic design of road signs used in the United Kingdom as self-governing outside of the United Kingdom. The island's parliament can enact its own legislation, including road traffic laws, such as speed limits, and the power to close roads to allow races such as the Isle of Man TT to take place. There is no national speed limit in the Isle of Man. Some roads may be driven at any speed which is safe and appropriate. Well, I've got an interesting definition of safe and appropriate. In built-up areas, a speed limit of 30 mile an hour usually applies. There's also a 20 mile per hour speed limit in some local areas. Carelessness and dangerous driving laws still apply, so one may not drive at absolutely any speed. Again, they've sort of like taken the firearms law approach to speed limits. Like, it's open to interpretation. And I would say it would generally, I would hope the police would take into account what car you're doing it in. You know, if you're doing 150 mile an hour in a Nissan Micra, which I think you just let it fly anyway because that's impressive. But you're doing 150 mile an hour in a Nissan Micra, yeah, probably not very safe to do so. In a Bugatti Veyron, on the other hand, probably quite safe and adequately designed to do so. You'll be able to enjoy all the inbreeding too. That's why there's no speed limits, right? So they can get to their sister's house faster. Oh, I've just got to watch all the Isle of Man subscribers leave. The Isle of Man is basically the UK how it used to be. It's nothing like USA. It's more like the USA than we're heading. There is no maximum speed limit on the mountain course. National speed limit roads are any speed. Maybe I need to go and head out there. Guns and driving fast. That would be like a good weekend. And on that inquisitive note of where my next holiday location will be, I am gonna head off there, guys. Thank you very much, everyone, for. Oh no, that's not what I want to do. Stop. There we go. Still getting used to this new software. Ugh, getting old. Thank you everybody for joining. Before you do all leave, takes a few seconds, hit that like button. It really does make a difference to growing the speed, growing the stream and growing the channel. But yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic week ahead. It's next one. We'll probably have to do a Christmas themed one. I don't know what I would do to make it a Christmas themed one, but it will be the last stream before Christmas. So maybe I'll have to get Connors on stream, dressed as Santa, and I can sit on his lap. All of you bathtub watchers will probably really enjoy that. But yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic week ahead and try and get out there brave in this weather to do some shooting. Hit the like button, make sure you are subscribed, and of course, as always, guys, hope to see you soon.